I hear you on that.
We are live on YouTube. It should be showing up here shortly on everybody's feeds, and I will tweet it out as well. Come on. There it is. Perfect. And share on Twitter, and press the buttons, and yada yada. Is live. Sure, and you got to keep our guest occupied while I'm doing.
Oh, yeah.
IT
Sorry,
stuff.
I'm still trying to troubleshoot this thing because I'm annoyed. But that's okay. We got a show to do. I can hear y'all. As long as you can hear me, it don't matter.
Loud and clear.
I'm looking for the link here. Here we go. There we go.
Sweet.
I'm going to retweet this one out.
Awesome. What's up, Raja? Credit cards are melting in the ATL.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
Oh, man. Yeah, no kidding. Buy it all. Give me all
right,
the
let's see if,
Chase
I
Elliott
can mute this.
garb.
Okay. All right. Well, Jay, to say that we've been excited about having this conversation for a little while now is kind of an understatement in a lot of ways. I know we started planning on this thing like way back in May. And,
yeah. Once we figured out that the Masters was not going to be in April,
Right.
they go contingency plans.
Right.
Yeah. So let's see here. I've got this up, and Jay, I mean, if I counted right, it's your fourth time. We
Is
celebrated.
that right?
We celebrated
Right.
the PhD episode last time, so
So what's now? What comes next?
postdoctoral.
Postdoctoral. Sweet.
Yeah. Now you got to teach everybody else.
Yeah. Now, you're an intern now.
That's right. I graduated from academia. Man, I went to grad school, and don't let them ever tell you anything different. It's the greatest racket in the world being a grad student, man. I loved it. Being a student teacher and being a grad student, I miss those days.
That's funny. I graduated in computer science at Georgia Tech and said, that is all the school that I ever want to go to. I'm done. I did it. I did well, but that's all I need. They were talking about master's program, and one of the professors actually told me, she said, yeah, there is a bit of academic hazing to start with. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm out. See ya.
Academic hazing from computer science people sounds. I think you could probably take them.
That sounds horrific. I have no interest.
I was in writing. I was in a graduate writing program, and there is nothing better than being in a graduate writing program because you don't actually have to write. You can just act like a writer, and acting like a writer is so much better than being a writer. You know, just you hang around bars and you drink bourbon, and you talk all pretentious and stuff, and you're free from the burden of having to actually do any work. It's perfect.
Oh, beautiful. Maybe I chose the wrong profession.
Sounds like I did too. Good grief.
No kidding.
Now, mind you, there's no money in it, so you know.
Well, maybe I did choose the right profession.
Cadge drinks off of people, but still, it's a trade off. It's a trade off.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it in beer. All right, gentlemen, we ready to roll? Jay, I'll aiming on getting you out of here in 30, 40 minutes, something like that. Once we kind of get to the end of a few topics there, talk about the race that we're very excited about here, and then talk about the Masters, and see check the time and see how we're doing, and
Absolutely.
after that, me and Sherwin have plenty of rest of stuff to talk about. So, cool. All right, gentlemen, y'all ready to roll?
Let's do it.
All right, here goes nothing. I might disappear for a little bit, but now that we do Zoom, it tends to be a little better, so we'll see. Anyway, we're recording now. Welcome, y'all! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineers Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 267. It's Monday, November 9th, 2020. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm in the PTM Podcast studio in Atlanta, Georgia. We'll get to the show here in a moment. Before we do, y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. Go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the What's Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get that free koozie. Best part is, every cent this year, we're donating to sponsored drivers. So join the PTM posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show, as always, brought to you by our official sponsors at that $5 and up per month level. They are Aaron Bearden, Robert Kepler, Coleman McClam, Eric Kettner, Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brandon Crowd, Kathy McDonald, Brandon Carl, Ricky Porter, Julie Bosley, Eddie Gerd, Third, Youngker Motorsports, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Chris Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Knapp, and Stacey Coleman, Lisa Chinana, Rick Houston, Zara Barry, Evan Roller, Matthew Bishop, Matthew Camper, Harry Bozania, Les Miller, Jumpy Bob, and welcome to the PTM Posse, AJ Evangelista. Awesome. So excited to have you on, AJ. Thanks for joining us. I've already sent out the request for your address and get some swag from you. So send that right along. We'll send something out. With that, let's bring on the co-host of the PTM podcast. It's Andrew Sherwin, pregame engineer. What's up, dude?
Skew! NASCAR USA, baby.
That's right.
Mooresville, North Carolina.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got plenty to talk about with that. But we will also bring onto the show for the fourth time in his PETM postdoctoral episode, Yahoo Sports senior writer and fellow Atlanta resident on Twitter at Jay Busby. It's Jay Busby. What's up, Jay?
What's going on, boys? Got my eye on Jimmy Johnson. Got my eye on Dale Earnhardt. Got my eye on Richard Petty. I want 8 appearances, man. I'm going to take them down.
8 time. I love it. I love it. We'll make sure that happens. You know, I'm always a little self-conscious when I go back and listen because I don't think I say the word Yahoo right. I either say like Yahoo or because I'm like, he's calling in from Yahoo Sport, and so I don't know. What's the what do I need to call it?
You know, you could even do the old yodel that they used to do back in the
Yahoo.
Yeah, exactly. It's stuck in your brain. Everybody over the age of about 35 knows that. But it's Yahoo's fine or Yahoo. Or I've heard of all kinds of different. I've done like Irish radio, and they say it some bizarre way that just I can't even replicate. So yes, whatever you say is fine.
Yeah, Yahoo is what we are. We are Yahoos.
We're a couple of Yahoos here.
My dad, being from San Francisco, he says Yahoo because he also says Colorado and Nevada.
That almost sounds like a Baltimore accent there.
Yeah, but mostly, well, he's been in the South since 1973 when he started at Clemson. So he's got Fixin' To figured out and some of the other important ones.
You guys know what it's like. I mean, it's funny now. The national media with the elections is going to be coming to Georgia, and so you can always spot them a mile away when they start saying like DeKalb County or something like
DeKalb,
that. Get the hell out, interloper.
Yeah,
interloper. I love that word.
There was
you know what I love, Jay, and I don't know how much time you spent on the South Side, but when someone with a very Southern voice ends up on country radio, and they're clearly from Nashville or somewhere like that, and they say Sonoya. I'm like, nah, it's either Sonoy, the town, or Sonoa Road, Highway 74.
Yeah,
those are the two ways you can say it.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Bless your heart. You'll get
exactly. Walking Dead territory down there.
Yeah, yeah. You know, there was it was like a news person recently, and they were like on Atlanta news or something. They kept saying DeKalb County, and I was like, oh, you're new. You're going to get trolled over this one.
Yeah.
Well, especially now with all the social media.
Right. I felt bad. I think it was a dude. I felt bad for him. I was just like, oh man, you're gonna catch a ration, and you don't even know it right now. You're doing your thing. You're sitting there. You're just excited. Hey, I got this new job. I'm gonna talk about DeKalb County, and oh man, poor fella. Well, Jay,
they're dragging you, and not even know. Oh,
yeah, just keep on keeping on. The Germans bombing Pearl Harbor. Jay, you know how we start this thing. What you drinking on tonight? I saw a little sip of something.
I got a little bit of Four Roses, the big old bottle. I didn't do anything special with this one here. I just had the big old monster tankard, and I'm not going to tell you how much of it is left because I need to preserve my job. But this is probably more than what's left in the bottle right here.
My man,
this glass.
Sherwin, what you got tonight?
Well, I had to get something celebratory.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Everybody at home, that's Wild Turkey Spirit Single Barrel.
Well done.
So I'm having it nice and neat and room temperature.
Well done. For the race and the win and all that stuff, I went out and bought me a 12-pack of Miller Lite long neck bottles. Hadn't had me a long neck Miller Lite in a while. Sherwin, I know you've had a couple on the show. Shinerbach, well done, sir. I know it's a little bit off-brand, seeing as how Brad was in the championship and he didn't win, but it just felt right. You know what I mean?
Miller Lite long neck bottles belong in my fridge always.
I hear you.
I put it on my cereal, man. I love Miller Lite.
I didn't realize how much I did like it because it'll be lately I've just been trying to like, all right, well, we'll cut back and we'll just have a nightcap or something or skip it or whatever. And so, you have a nightcap and then you have one more. Then you're like, well, now I'm drunk because I just had 2 big liquor drinks. But like, you can just drink Miller Lite all day, and you forget about that when you hadn't been to a race in a year now. So
yeah, no kidding. So top 3 places to drink beer. Obviously, race number 1. What's number 2?
Georgia Tech pregame.
Okay, that's a quality pull.
Yeah, Fifth Street Bridge. That's a fun place to do some tailgating and pregame. And
yeah. Closely followed. I mean, I won't call it like number 3. I'll call it 2B is sneaking in some stuff into Georgia Tech Stadium, which now they serve beer though. So we haven't actually put our lips on that beer yet, but you can buy alcohol at the stadium now, which I lamented that they had such fewer crowds this year because of COVID and all that stuff. Because, I mean, they probably would have made upwards of $1 billion on Georgia Tech fans drinking beer at the stadium.
Let me tell you my best Georgia Tech drinking story real quick. My brother and I were here. This was many, many years ago. We're watching Florida State. My brother went to Florida State, so he's up here we go to a tailgate, and we're pounding all the drinks, nice and well lubricated. This is when I was not covering it, fortunately. So we go in there, and then we need to hit the facilities. We go into the men's room. My brother reaches down the front of his pants, pulls out a plastic bag full of Crown Royal that he had snuck in. He's like, "You want some?" I'm like, "You know what? I think I'm good, man."
Based on where that comes from.
That is awesome. Well, we have a pretty interesting Florida State at Georgia Tech, at Bobby Dodd story, because we were there for the Kick 6 return that registered as a 0.9 earthquake in Atlanta, which is like the second biggest earthquake they've had in 50 years.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fun, even though it was a 3-9 season.
Yeah. Take what you can get, man.
Well, hey, that one counted.
A lot of sins.
That one had to count like at least 1.4. I won't make it 1.5 so we don't round up, but it was there.
Well, it reminded everybody that single-digit opponents have a lot of trouble finishing the deal in Atlanta.
True. Well, Mr. J, it's been about 14 years since we last spoke. It was February 20th of 2020, or as Sherwin put it, like March -8th or something like that. So.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I seriously, I thought that it was prior to this year, but I guess it was a Daytona 500 talk or something like that. But I mean, I swear, not even joking, I thought that it had been like almost a year since we had talked. But yeah, you're right. It does seem like forever ago, back when we were all so young and innocent, back in February 2020.
What's wild?
Yeah,
what's wild is that like February was like 20 years ago, and then mid-March was like, I don't know, a few days ago. So there's a big time gap there. I don't know if we all just drank it away, but somewhere in there, there's like a year's worth of time.
Yeah, and I think that we've the human mind is able to block out pain a lot more effectively than the blocking out pleasure. And I think we've all kind of blocked out for good or for ill what it was like in those 6-8 weeks when we were all just stuck in our houses. I mean, you remember it was like it was like Christmas morning in a bad way, because everything was silent outside. You'd go up, you didn't hear any planes, didn't hear any cars. It was creepy. You were just all hunkered down in our houses. And I mean, I've gotten away from that and probably shouldn't have, but yeah, it's tough to remember that.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it on the show. I go into the office every day now. Now, our office has certain policies and certain cleaning schedules and fogging and all this stuff that's going on, so it feels relatively safe, I guess. I mean, and then something just came out the other day. People going offices are like 3 times more likely to contract. I'm like, man, I don't know. I hate it, but if I just go to the office and then come back home and that's all I do, at least I get outside, and we're on the 15th floor, so I get to like look out on a horizon as opposed to just staring at the same walls every day.
Yeah. I'm in my office. I've been in my office for the last 20, 25 years. So when all of y'all started working at home, I'm like, welcome to the party, bitches. The rest of us know what we're doing here.
Yeah, I did it for like 5 years, and for I guess I don't know half of what is the new COVID world. I actually did. I was unemployed, so that was interesting. You almost had to leave the house, and I just hope every time that I showed up at East Roswell Taco Mac that I might see Jay Busby, but I missed you every time.
I know,
but I was saving a seat for you.
Yeah, no kidding. And that place shut down recently because of COVID. So hopefully they'll reopen.
Oh wow!
But
wow.
Yeah, it was we would run into each other over there at the bar while we were nursing our drinks and watching our racing.
Well, gentlemen, we can sit here and BS all night, and I want to do that at some point soon. But there's an elephant in the room here. We're going to go ahead and play for the report card, but that is going to be very, very shortly followed up with the horn. Sherwin, how about it? Chase Elliott.
I don't even know what to say, man. I'm pretty sure it hadn't sunk in. I mean, I knocked stuff over around here, ordered a die-cast that's not going to get here until October 11th of next year. It's that kind of deal.
That's my wedding anniversary. Send me one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know. So yeah, I can't imagine. I don't even know what this is, right? So imagine. Now you and I both got to live through a Georgia Tech championship, although we were really, really young and had really no idea what that thing even meant.
Yeah.
And so we lived through the Braves winning the World Series and Atlanta United winning the MLS championship. And now we have Georgia's own, Dawsonville's own second generation racer at the cup level winning the whole shebang.
Jay,
and, I don't know, it might take me another week to figure it out.
No kidding. I mean, same with Chase. He was saying earlier, I really thought it was interesting because he was saying, you know, when I was growing up, I was looking at people like Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart, and like, those are my heroes. Those are the guys that are at the pinnacle of what they do. Because they were asking him, like, you don't seem like overly emotional. I'm like, I'm just trying to process this thing because now my name is next to theirs, and that just doesn't feel quite right still. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, and he's always had kind of that, maybe a little bit of that confidence thing, but just the humility in I don't know if I deserve to be up there, but boy howdy, this year, I don't care if he, I shouldn't say I don't care, but if he never gets another championship or win, he at least this year belongs up there with everybody, on top of everybody, just how he is, Jay.
Yeah, and he did it in dominating fashion. Won 3 of the last 5 races. It was weird how inevitable it felt in a way, because we've been hearing about Chase Elliott. You know, obviously there's pictures all the way dating back to him sitting on Dale Earnhardt's lap and that kind of thing. But we've been hearing about him forever. And then we've been hearing about him as a legitimate racer for what, 6, 7, 8 years now, and he started making his way up through the lower ranks. And so there was almost this kind of tendency to think, okay, well, here comes another one. And it's another procession of NASCAR drivers and their sons, which is obviously a well-known progress, you know, no matter who you're talking about, Earnhardt's, Petty's, whoever you want to name. But the fact that he came in and he had all of these huge expectations on him, he hits right when Dale Jr. is leaving the sport. So instantly the entire sports popularity contest sort of falls on his shoulders. The fact that he gets all of that loaded on him and he's still able to drive to a championship. I mean, I don't think that we should underestimate that accomplishment at all. The fact that he had all these huge expectations put on him and he delivered.
Right.
Yeah. I was engaging another podcast entity that's like us, kind of an amateur deal. And then we were kind of joking around about, you know, when's Chase going to get from the back to the top 15? And will it happen, you know, before the competition caution, or will it happen before stage 1? And I was like, he's going to be in the top 10 before stage 1 is over.
Mm-hmm.
And he was 10th when stage 1 ended. So I imagine he probably had a lot of crew chiefs shaking their boots going, damn, that car's
Right.
You know,
Right.
I wonder about that though. That's the one complaint that I have about Chase, about the final races. Not about Chase. I was about to say Chase races, but obviously playoff races. It takes a while to get the terminology.
Been saying it all year. Yep.
The one complaint I have about the playoff finale is that, other than the four guys, it always seems like everybody else is being a little deferential, which is the right way, I suppose, in a polite sense, in a gentlemanly sense, to let the people who are winning, have a chance to win, race for the win. But at least in this kind of situation where you have all four of them packed up front in a hurry. And so I would love to see, and I'm not quite sure what that way is, but I'd love to see a way that it becomes more of a race and less of a kind of a parade where you have everybody following the top four, and then they get to duke it out amongst themselves.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone in that at all. I think there's a lot of people that would like to see something a little different. My suggestion was, maybe out of right field a little bit, was, okay, so why don't we line up, position 11 through however many cars show up. It was 39 this week at Phoenix. So line up position 11, 39 based on whatever the point system they've decided is their correct algorithm. And then the 10 guys that are the fastest in practice get to do the all-star race style qualifying. They get a truly team event.
Yeah.
Or
who wins the pole and where they start. And
Yeah.
now obviously what comes into play after that is, failing inspection. Well, okay, that's part of it.
yeah.
Right.
Or a big purse for 11th, or not just 11th, but first finisher outside the top four guys. Like, not that finishes fifth, but I mean, shoot, if you win the race or if you get second or whatever, some huge incentive there for that person. So
Well, there is. Fifth place gets a very significant check.
Is that in points or for that race?
Overall points.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I'm thinking more for just that race. Like, just for this race, the top finisher who's not one of the final four gets something, cool.
Oh yeah. So the
everybody's racing for
season-long
something.
fifth place person gets a nice chunk of the TV money.
Yeah, something there. So,
You
Sherwin,
give them a lap head start at the Daytona 500 next year. So whoever it is, they get a one lap on the field.
there you go.
That would be hilarious.
Sherwin
it would
mentioned
ultimately end badly.
Yeah. That poor bastard, we turned before he hit turn one, but still.
Sherwin had mentioned it earlier as an Atlanta fan. I mean, this has to be, well, it has to be on the Mount Rushmore because there's only a few things. Like, we're still carving the thing. We're not having to take
room on the Mount Rushmore, yeah.
But for right along, like you said, Sherwin, with the MLS championship, with the Major League Baseball championship, and now I guess it's on Chase Elliott to carry this whole thing on his shoulders. But boy, it feels good to be an Atlanta fan in that sense, to actually get something away from the curse, especially after this year's little what have you with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Braves and the Falcons, and then the Hawks not even making it into the NBA bubble. It's nice, but yeah, you guys have been up to Dawsonville. You know what it's like up there. And,
Oh, yeah.
You always love seeing good things happen to good people, and every time I've been up to Dawsonville, I just enjoy it. They just seem to be good folks that are just happy to ring that damn siren. I'm sure that there's one cranky old bastard who hates that siren, and he's just been mad as hell the last 2 days. But everybody else, they're having a good time and they deserve it.
Well, good.
Yes, they absolutely do. And we had a fantastic conversation with Gordon Perkle about 3 years ago, and talking about how they just said, "What are we going to do?" Because Bill won a poll at Daytona, I think, and they were like, "Well, what are we going to do for Bill?" And he's like, "I don't know." And then he went rummaging through one of his storage buildings and found a damn siren off a fire truck.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Wonder what happens when we hook this thing up to power." And they just cut that thing on, and it ran and ran and ran until the cops showed up and said, "What the hell's going on over here?" And they're like, Bill won stuff and things, and we're going to keep doing this.
we're just we're rednecks. This is what we're doing from now on.
I mean, isn't that just the greatest redneck story? You know, let's hook some power to it and see what happens.
Yeah,
It is. It so is. I mean, it reminds me of being a teenager playing with dynamite and a lawnmower battery and going, "Hey, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's go hide behind a tree."
You know what? Yeah. What's the worst thing that could happen?
fellas, I wanted to ask this, and I reflected on it a little bit myself. But what did Chase bring to this race that Hamlin, Brad, and Joey just didn't have? And for me, thinking about it was two things. One, momentum from last week, and that's not something that we talked about it last week, that you can't just sit there and celebrate and go crazy for a whole week. You got to go straight into, all right, mindset is Phoenix. Maybe I didn't think I'd even be in this position, but that's what I got to think about. But that momentum and being able to carry that forward to Phoenix. But then on top of that, he just brought speed, fellas. Nobody else had anything on him for that race. And you knew it, like Sherwin said, at the end of the first stage, Chase is top 10, and then boom, it was off to the races from there. Joey Logano might have had a little bit of, clearly Chase was fastest, and Joey was second fastest that day. But for me, that's what, those are the big two things. What did y'all see?
Well, Jay, do you want to go ahead or?
No, take it, please, by all means.
All right. So what I'll say is, and I always like to shout out David Smith from Motorsports Analytics, because he always has a really neat approach for anybody that loves sticking ball and analytics that go with it and trying to quantify all this stuff. What he said was, and this is very poignant, he said, the fastest car for 26 races in the regular season and the fastest car in the 10 races in the playoffs won the championship. Boom.
Yeah. Interesting. Jake?
I can't even follow that up with anything other than, that's hard data. I'm just going to go with what I feel. I think you were right on the point there with momentum being the key there, because it seemed like the other three were a little flat-footed. I always am kind of interested in how these drivers all enter the championship. I mean, the classic example is back in, I think it was 2010, when Denny Hamlin had been leading and he gave up a number of positions, and Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson were the other two challengers, and they basically just broke him psychologically right there on stage. And that kind of the psychology behind racing always fascinates me. I know that we can put percentages on the amount of that's the car and the amount that's the driver, but there is a psychology aspect of the driver that we can't argue about, that is an essential element. And Chase just had it. I mean, he was drawing full houses every hand. I mean, he was absolutely just, everything broke in his favor. And it sometimes you see that momentum run out, whether it's a driver or a team or whatever. But in this case, it ran right on through to the finish line. It was great to see.
Yeah.
And we're going to look back on this, and one of the focal points when we get far away from where we are today and where we were last night is what happened at Martinsville with how well the number 9 team understood the rules of the game. When the Jackman knew he went over the wall too soon, and he went and reset, and he not only reset once, he reset twice before running around to the right side of the car. And so they did not get penalized for that, because that is hard written into the rule book. That is a turning point. That's a team that is dialed in.
Yeah.
You said the word right there, team.
Little pit strategy there and knowledge of the rules, and you're able to, when it doesn't break in your advantage, you're able to bend it right back to your advantage.
Mm-hmm. What'd y'all think with Phoenix as the closer? I mean, obviously we're pretty stoked about who won it, so very biased opinion. But even reflecting on the other races, Sherwin, me and you will talk about them in a bit, but both pretty exciting late pass overtime finishes. But overall, Phoenix as the closer race, what'd you think?
Yeah, I tend to like Homestead a little bit better than Phoenix, but I did like the wide open elements of it, and the fact that it ran a little better than I expected. I was not as in favor of this move as some other people may have been. Certainly, I preferred Homestead for both nostalgic and racing reasons. But yeah, you can't argue with the results.
Mm-hmm. Sherwood?
No, not in the least. I think Phoenix was a good pick. It's a nice change of pace type track, right? It's a 1 mile, so we kind of want to say, is it an intermediate or not? It's got that weird dog leg. There's other things that are going on. It's having a championship over there on the West Coast to give, I mean, we have 7 Cup racers that have won races that are racing right now from California. I guess Jimmy is sailing off over to Indy to kick their asses, but, but I mean, what I'd like to see is build those contracts in and have them be 3-year bundles. And then every 3rd year, move that race to another place.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I guess there's a few places I wouldn't want to see it necessarily. Don't give me like Daytona or Talladega at the very end, or I'm not sure I'm ready for a road course at the end, although who's so good at road courses, maybe I would be. But yeah, for the same reason you just said it, Sherwin, I really like it in that it's not a short track, although we may call it one. It's not a 1.5 or it's something different, somewhat like Homestead is. I really like the wild restarts that we have with, they're going 12 wide just all over the place. So plenty of room to race and everything. So I enjoy seeing that. Yeah, I thought it was a great start to that, to this era, however long it lasts, of Phoenix being the final race. So, gentlemen, we got one more thing to talk about before Mr. J is allowed to leave the house. We've got the Masters tournament starting in 3 days. Jay, give us a rundown. What are you expecting out of this?
Well, I'm looking for Chase Elliott to run the table on the Masters once again. He's carrying a lot of momentum into this week after last week. No, man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be, I know that there's not a whole lot of crossover between golf and NASCAR, but we're all sports fans here. We all enjoy a good competition. And we've got a number of really talented dudes that are going to do to Augusta what we would all like to do to a golf course, which is just beat the living hell out of it. It's led by Bryson DeChambeau, Golf Hulk, just a monster dude. He put on about 40 pounds, all muscle over quarantine. He came back just all jacked up and beefed up. And his goal is basically to try and overpower the course by hitting it so far that he's able to do whatever he wants on his second shots. So it's going to be fun watching him play the course. It's going to be fun watching Augusta, which is obviously traditionally a springtime course, seeing how it looks in the fall. And then it's just, it's just kind of a great afternoon, or 4 days, I should say, of watching the world's best take on one of the world's best courses.
Racial disparity aside, isn't that what we were all just so enamored with Tiger Woods when he came in? And he was just, it was that same thing. Just dominate the ball, dominate the course, beat the crap out of it, and look what I can do. And then, you just said it, DeChambeau winning, what was it, the U.S. Open by 6 strokes or something. I mean, just absolutely dominating people, dominating the course. It's something that you just don't see in golf. We're so polite when we're playing golf and all that stuff. And okay, well, I'm just going to hit this nice drive, try to get it between the sticks, between the fairway, blah, blah, blah. No, let's just go out there and beat the dog slop out of this, out of this ball and just bring a different kind of game.
And the funny thing is that DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka are these big muscle-bound dudes that, whereas a lot of golfers are little skinny, slim country club dudes, these guys are big monsters. And it's funny because, talking again about psychology, the way that they approach it is kind of like a football player or an MMA player. They will come and they're not going to get anyone else's face, but when they're in press conferences, they'll talk some crap. They will actually name other golfers by name. It's not quite the level of wrestling promos, but compared to the way the genteel sort of nature of most golf conversations, these guys are talking crap on an unprecedented level. And I think it's great. I mean, what golf has always needed is more personality, and whether it knows it or not. I mean, Tiger got a lot of grief, as you mentioned, when he came in and he put a whole bunch of attitude out there on the course. He's pumping his fist, he's celebrating, as opposed to his predecessors were much more genteel, much more polite. I mean, screw that. You're doing something that very few people on the planet can do. Celebrate it, revel in it. Enough with the gentlemanly nonsense, enjoy yourself. And I think this new generation of golfers, having grown up on Tiger, is much more willing to let their emotions out. I think the game is better for it.
Yeah, I would say I have successfully put my curmudgeonism about we have to stick to the rules aside. I don't care. Ronald Acuna, he tipped the scale for me. You know,
He would do it.
when that guy hits the ball 495 feet, I don't give a shit what he does with the bat. I just whatever you want to do. I mean,
I am so with you, man. If I hit a major league home run, if I hit a home run off a major league pitcher, I'm throwing that bat almost as far as the ball goes. I mean, I'm going to celebrate. You don't want me to celebrate. You can hit me or you can strike me out. But if you give me a pitch that I hit, I'm going to do what I want with it and with the bat too. I'm completely with you on that.
I love it. I love it. So, I mean, what are is this, we talked about it in NASCAR with Harvick and Hamlin versus Field. We talked about that with Jeff Striegel. Sherwin, I think I could have won like 10 grand off of Jeff Striegel in this in this ordeal because he was heavy on the Harvick and Hamlin. But now we have the Field. Is it looking like that with say DeChambeau and I'll put the triumvirate up there with Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas?
It's pretty close, and I would throw John Rahm in there to make it a quartet. I mean, they're all pretty close. I mean, they're not quite versus the Field level yet, but I mean, on a betting perspective, they're pretty close. I think that that DeChambeau's about 8-1. That's the best odds right now, and considering how tough it is to bet on golf, if we're talking odds, having 8-1 odds is pretty damn amazing. But he's just. We want to see how well he can do, and everything that we've seen, as you mentioned with the U.S. Open, everything that we've seen is that he can deliver on his trash talk, and there is nothing better than someone who talks a big game and then backs it up, because it's both enthralling and infuriating when somebody absolutely talks a mountain of trash and then does exactly what they say they're going to do.
I totally agree. I think that's why most sport fans probably fell in love with Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, he's king ding-a-ling on top of that mountain of talking crap.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing wrong with it. I mean, I was worried when the Braves hired Josh Donaldson. I was like, yeah, I heard about this guy. I don't know. But the way he was able to like motivate the team just based on his emotion, you realize how important that is, because that guy can pick everybody up. You know, like think about Dion. Man, he did it all. and like, I mean, he spared no expense either. I mean, just as flamboyant as you could possibly be. But what did he do? He set records at everything he did.
Well, let me throw this out there. Rusty. This is why I've come around on like LeBron James. There's love, hate, whatever you want to call it, but he shows up, he dominates, and the other side of it is off the court. He's just an absolute awesome dude, evidently, in everything that he does. So it's like, golly, I can't hate the guy no more.
I cannot figure a rational reason why anybody would hate LeBron James. You can dislike him because he doesn't play for your team. But I mean, the dude married his high school sweetheart. He built a school. He gives money back to his community, and he's absolutely the most dominant player, right up there with Jordan in terms of in NBA history. I mean, he doesn't have as many rings as Jordan, I know, but he's been to 10 finals. He's astounding, and he's another guy. I was mentioning about Chase, and he was kind of the guy that I was thinking of. When you have all these expectations put on you as being the greatest one, the chosen one was what they called him. When you have all these expectations and you not only meet them, you surpass them. I mean, what kind of an achievement is that? It's something astounding that very few people can even match the expectations, these stars that we see coming out early, much less exceed them. And LeBron James has done that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Think about Dale Jr. and what expectations were placed on his shoulders through unfortunate circumstance.
Yeah.
Man still won 2 Daytona 500s and 26 cup races.
Yeah.
He's
and he did it with grace, and he did it with people, every single step of every single day, people wanting to dump all of their grief for his father's death onto him. I mean, I think he had one of the most remarkable psychological triumphs of anybody in sports. I mean, obviously you could pick players like Jackie Robinson. They had a much more difficult road than Dale Jr. did. But in terms of psychology, to try to grieve in public while everyone else wants you to know their pain and wants you to absolve them of their pain. I mean, it's phenomenal what that guy had to go to. And no, he didn't win championships. He was rarely even close or in position to win championships, but he acquitted himself well on the track. He was an outstanding, NASCAR's best advocate off the track. Again, another guy that had all these burdens placed on him, and he met them.
Yeah, and ironically, the championship he was closest to winning, and he probably could have won in 2004, he was fined and penalized for saying the word shit on CBS. When he was talking about how they're like, oh, you've got 6 wins at Talladega now. And he's like, I don't mean shit because Daddy won 10.
Yeah.
I mean, he was even humble then.
Yeah. So
you know what that was a result of was the Janet Jackson thing at the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
That was a direct result of that.
But hypersensitive.
Every network was so terrified when Justin Timberlake goes and pulls off Janet Jackson's top there at the Super Bowl. And every network was so terrified of getting fined that they passed it down to all their sports. Keep a muzzle on your dudes, and that's what happened.
Yeah. So we've gone like full circle. I think we started at golf. We went to baseball there. We hit basketball around a NASCAR like we do. Bringing it back full circle to golf, we talked about versus the field. Well, there's still people like Rory, or there's still people, Bubba's had sort of his I don't want to say mental issues, but he's talked about anxiety and stuff. But you want to talk about somebody else who just blasts the ball out of the gate. So there's a few contenders out there.
Yeah. Bubba Watson is he's got 2 green jackets. You never want to count out left-handers at Augusta. That's why Bubba does well. That's why Phil does well. Anybody that's hitting it from the left side of the tee box, they have an advantage based on the way that they can shape the ball, the way that the course is shaped. But, again, getting back to the psychology, that's where Rory comes in. Rory and Jordan Spieth, these guys that had the green jacket in their hands and they lost. They had one sleeve in, and then they lost it on the second 9 Sunday afternoon. I am fascinated by that stuff because it makes you cringe to think about it, to think that they were that close, that they were 9 holes away, that they were 7 holes away, whatever it was, and then they lost it. But it's fascinating kind of human drama to see how these guys respond to this level of stress that most of us can't even imagine. And both of those dudes are such, I hate this term, but absolutely applies here. Both of those guys are such absolute class acts that they have done everything possible to acquit themselves of that in terms of the public opinion. But I want to see how they're going to do it on the course. And I am hopeful for both of them that they can redeem themselves, but both have their difficulties when it comes to Augusta.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's really fun to watch about these guys that really hit it, and we know it's well documented that when Tiger showed up, the Masters actually lengthened the course by 300 yards because they're like, this guy does things we didn't realize were going to happen. And so now everybody does that. But one thing that those guys that hit the ball long have to learn how to do is hit a very difficult approach. And that's what Phil Mickelson learned how to do. That's what Tiger learned how to do. And that's what Bubba has learned how to do. And obviously DeChambeau and those other guys that are in that quartet have learned how to do, is because you know what? You don't know where the ball's going a lot of times. You're just knocking the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the greens are just glass slick, and you cannot tell how the ball's going to go, especially from a distance. You've got to have some insider knowledge. You've got to have some awareness of where that ball's going to go. But yeah, it's fascinating to see how you can strategically play this course. You think you get up there and you smack it and you see what happens. The best golfers will get up there and they have it like a chess match. They know, all right, I'm going to go this over this tree. I'm going to go over this. I'm going to go around this creek. They're going to lay it out like that. And it's so much more complex than those of us watching here from the other side of the TV screen think. But it's fascinating to see them take apart this golf course.
Well,
Well, I think Rusty can attest to this. For any of us that really like to go out there and hit the little white ball, we lose our frustration because we go out there to drink beer. We're basically at the bar, and we're playing our version of Top Golf on an actual course, and then we're talking smack and hitting balls and going, yeah, that's way over there in the woods, and that ball only costs $1, so I'm just going to drop it right here.
Yeah, it's July.
That was my humble brag bit. I got to play Augusta, and when I was on the 18th at Augusta, I made sure to do the old, all right, you're on the 18th at Augusta, chance to win the Masters, 6-foot putt. Of course, I missed the damn putt, but still, I got to actually do it on Augusta.
Hey, if you putted for par at 18 at Augusta National, you're my hero.
I was not. But I got 2 pars. I got them pars on 2 and pars on 11. The rest of the time, I just smacked it all over the damn place. But
on 11,
yeah, it was best 117 or whatever my score was that I ever had.
You know, as you mentioned the slick greens, and as a less than amateur golfer, I will say, like, if you go to some Goats run and the green is just not running true, it's just bouncing along and whatnot, I mean, you just get frustrated, right? I'll tell you what, the other side of that frustration is playing a really nice course that's super well groomed, that has absolute bathtub as a green, and you know, you tap it in, and the damn thing goes 40 yards past, and I mean, there's nothing more frustrating to me than playing on that kind of green. Now, I like a pretty slick green, but I've played on those courses where I've just been like, you know what, I'm done. Let me just go to the driving range, I guess.
That little 4 to 6 foot comebacker, that is a brutal one. After you slid it past and you're thinking, all right, I'm going to get off this with a par or a bogey, and then you slide it past, and you still got meat left on that bone. Oh man, that's bad news.
You know what though? I will say this, and I think Rusty, you'll agree with me on this. At least with those really fast ones, there is some predictability, and you start to learn why these guys always talk about wanting to be underneath the hole.
Yeah,
because that downhill putt is so
brutal,
dangerous.
Yeah,
like, you know, you just can't. That's why I've always been so amazed by the guys that take the approach that Tiger does, and he's like, I'm trying to center punch the cup. And I'm going to get it all the way there. And Rusty's dad, Rusty told me this. I don't think I've ever played golf with his dad, but every time you go underneath the hole, we will just say amateur.
Oh yeah,
because you never gave it a chance to get there.
Yeah, yep. That's amateur putt.
There's something to be said though for playing those dirtbag courses, those holes where you're like, what the hell was buried under here? Is there like a body buried under here? What's making the ball jump like this?
Oh, I call them buried whales.
Buried whales. Well, Jay, I know you got some work you got to get to. We don't want to hold you up much longer, which we humbly accept that you would rather be here talking with us, but we don't want to hold back the work side of stuff tonight.
Yeah, I still unfortunately have to write a post on gambling, so I can tell you all how to lose your money. But let's do this again. Let's do it again back when Daytona rolls back around.
Absolutely, it's been awesome having you.
Fantastic.
We'll put you on the schedule because we got a lot of nothing to talk about over the next several weeks. But we're going to be talking anyway.
That sounds good. You all rule. Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
It.
Take care,
Thank
Jay.
you, Jay.
Take care, guys.
See ya. Well, Sherwin, we've still got stuff to talk about.
Yes, we do.
So let's do that. Starting, let's go to the other series right now. Xfinity. How about Austin Cindric with that rubbin' racing pass on Allgaier in overtime? And I wrote it in here in the notes. Say what you want, but isn't this the Game 7 moment kind of thing that NASCAR's been talking about that they want to see? I mean, NASCAR's got to be beside themselves happy. I was not upset about it at all. I enjoyed it, enjoyed seeing that. So, what can I say other than that was pretty cool?
How would you have it be different?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's where I would start is how would you have it be different?
I like that.
Austin Cindric, won second most races of the year. We already know what his future plans are. He's going to run the Xfinity car again next year because, there's no reason to try to learn 2 Cup cars back-to-back years. We already know these are things. So how about solidifying the fact that he deserves an opportunity to run a Penske Cup car by saying, take no prisoners. I got a shot at this. I'm taking it. I'm having it. This is my trophy.
That was some of the best racing of the year with the most on the line. And again, I couldn't be happier with seeing it, and I love the way you just put it. What would you rather have? Would you rather have going into that race, we've already determined the champion, and who cares, snoozer, somebody wins but nobody cares? Or would we rather have that? And okay, I'll take this. I don't hate it.
No, I don't hate it at all. I think it was great. To all the guys that thought they had a shot, the 3 other guys, you know what? You didn't do what Austin did. So, sorry. Better luck next year.
And speaking of going into 4th period, how about Sheldon Creed? 9th to 1st on fresh tires in overtime to take the championship. I mean, how do you even follow up? How do you follow up that? Well, you do what Austin Cindric did. And he even said it. He said, well, I saw Sheldon do it last night. I might as well do it tonight. But he was just kind of joking around. But, man, the end of that, I'll tell you what, I went back and watched the end of the truck race on YouTube probably 12 times, grinning ear to ear, just watching him come through. And it wasn't like come through the field. This was one of those, they spread out 9 wide, and he just shot off like a cannon.
Yeah, he stood in the gas like that was the only thing that mattered, because it was.
Mm-hmm.
And, say what you may, I mean, Enfinger would have been a great story. Moffitt would have been a great story. Moffitt obviously was not really impressed with his team not wanting to take tires, and who knows what would have happened if they did, right? Because everybody can say, the whole field would have stayed out.
Oh, it's Monday.
If he comes in. So, but and Sheldon, how about his interview skills? I talked about it last week. The dude he's just a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a fun-loving guy who happens to be really good at making race cars go fast, and he got his due. And I can't wait to see what he does next. He's only 23 years old, which is awesome. And he said, I'm going to go drink a cuss word loads of beer now, because this is fun. And because he's old enough to do that. And I don't know how it could be any better. I don't know what result would have been better than that.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. We'll move on to 5th period here with some crazy stats, because I wanted to spend a little time on this one. Before the race, you texted me 2 things, and the first one I kind of sort of snickered at, and the second one I about lost my lunch laughing at it. The first one Sherwin sent me was that the last time Harvick was eliminated from the Final 4 was also the last time that Hendrick won a championship. And I saw that one, I kind of went, that's interesting. How about that? Yeah, I guess, if you eliminate one of the premier drivers in the series, it makes sense that Hendrick would do that. And now Sherwin, almost immediately, again, this is pre-race, followed up with this little stat. The last time the Dodgers and the Lakers both won championships in an election year, Bill Elliott won the championship, and I lost my marbles. I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah, I think Brandon sent that to me, and I was like, I can't not share this because it's too good. And yeah. I'm pretty sure I sent you William Clyde.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody knows who William Clyde Sr. or the first, actually.
Yeah.
They chose not to go junior, senior. I probably for obvious reasons, but and it's worth mentioning now that we're on that topic that Chase and Bill have now become just the 3rd father-son duo to win a Cup championship, with Ned Jarrett and Dale Jarrett and Lee Petty and Richard Petty.
Yeah,
so that's pretty good company to be in.
No kidding. For both of them to be championship caliber, and that's what's so crazy. How many father-sons or brothers or whoever else, family members have we had? We were talking about it with Jay earlier, just the, I won't say nepotism, but just the amount of in-the-family stuff that we have in the sport. But for them to be championship caliber, That's incredible, really, to me. And that's something that Chase Elliott talked about later in his interviews. He was talking about they had asked him, "Did you have some plan B if it wasn't racing?" And he had admitted to, "Well, I applied to college at the local community college here, and Dad told me I can only take you so far. I can only get you. My name only carries this far. Now it's Chase Elliott's name that has to carry you the rest of the way." And not just name, obviously, but the making his name, he can only get so far. So he said, I applied to college in this place and ended up the racing thing worked out with some sponsors and stuff. So that was really interesting to me.
Yeah, well, there's two things I want to add. I want to try to do my best Bill Elliott impersonation. Chase ran a good race. And anybody from North Georgia knows what that noise is. Bill's tried and true Dawsonville, Georgia. But the other thing is, I remember back when he won Watkins Glen the first time, and he ran out of gas coming under the second spotter stand, which is where Bill was spotting. And Bill said, "Burn it down, baby." And Chase goes, "I'm out of gas." And guess who pushed him back to victory lane?
Who was that?
Jimmy
Johnson. I remember. Yeah. That was super cool. Here's another, because I'm just going to roll on with the stats here. This one kind of made its way around Twitter and around the social media sphere. All three champions of all three series won at the Daytona Road Course this year. Sherwin, does that tell you anything, or is that like just kind of a coincidence?
Oh, I went on a rant on Twitter. Not a rant per se, not angry or snide or anything like that. But what I said was, road course racing is a big part of this sport now. And if you aren't any good at it, you're not going to be a champion. You might win some races, but you're not going to be a champion.
Well, especially walking into next year.
Yeah, with 6 races on the Cup schedule. I'm like, what I said was, to be a complete racer, you have to be good at every discipline, which means you have to be good at road course racing. Mm-hmm. Because even if that is your worst skill set, you cannot compete for a championship if you run 23rd at all the road course races.
That's true.
You have to be a threat to win.
That's true. Yeah. How about this one? Chase is the first odd-numbered car to win a championship since Kurt in 2004 in the 97. Now, that doesn't seem like too long ago, but we're talking about 16 years. 16 championships since an odd-numbered car has won. How about that?
Yeah, well, Jimmy gobbled up 7 of those. So that's like 55% of them. but yeah, I hear you. I mean, so Penske's got 2 of those. Harvick's got 1. Kyle's got 2. I mean, we're about to 11, aren't we?
Yeah. Oh, that was a good one. How about this one? He's the first driver from the South, any way that you measure it, to win the championship in 20 years. Back in 2000 with Texas's own Bobby Labonte. Since then, we've had, and I wrote them all down, we've had California, to your point, many times. We've had Indiana, Wisconsin, Nevada. You can make a case for Nevada, but in terms of latitude south, but I don't know about south. Michigan, New Jersey, Connecticut.
Yeah. I mean, so for NASCAR to be painted as this southeastern sport, which I don't know that they'll necessarily ever escape that, being that the central hub of the sport is in Charlotte, North Carolina. But yeah, it's not been Southern boys that have been winning the big trophies and getting the big check.
Mm-hmm.
You said Bobby Labonte, and then before that Dale Jarrett, who's from Hickory. But if you look back from there, then it starts to add up pretty quick, all the guys that are from the Southeast. But, is this the postmodern or the modern or whatever we're calling this era of NASCAR racing? Yeah. But, yeah, it's wildly been all over the place. I mean, you had Wisconsin with Kenseth in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, it's nice to bring it on back home. And Georgia hadn't had a championship in I think it's the guy that lives in my hometown where my parents still live.
Dadgum.
And I can't remember his name, but it's been a hot minute. He won like the 66 championship, maybe.
Or Bill Elliott.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, we already talked about Bill in 1988, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So how about this one? And this is another one that everybody knows, but I want to bring up anyway. Chase won his first championship at the age of 24. Jimmy made his first Cup start at the age of 26. How crazy is that one?
Yeah, and I think Dale Jr. made his Cup start or like his debut as a full-time driver when he was 24, which was even still young, even though we had the reference point of Bill and Ricky Rudd and then Jeff Gordon being, I think, 19 or 20 when they made their first starts in the sport. But, I mean, think about Dale Earnhardt. He didn't get a full-time ride until he was 27. Then think about the conversations we've had with Rick Mass. They were like, oh, you're not 30 yet? Don't even come back when you're 30.
Right. Yeah. That's all the stats I had there. I will say Natalie Decker won a Trans Am race at COTA this weekend. And shout out to NASCAR on Reddit for several of these things. But, yeah, that was very interesting and new. So good on you, Natalie.
Good for her. And good for all of the women that are involved in racing, whether they're competitors or they support the sport as fans or as journalists or in any other capacity, PR, whatever it is. That's good. That's just generally good. I'm glad that she won a race where they can point, a mark in time and say, because there's been a lot of chatter about her in trucks and how it's not gone so great. But, if you think about that Nice Motorsports team, they're competitive, but they really have only been competitive when Ross Chastain was driving their truck. So it's good for her to tuck that in her belt and to say, look, I won a race that mattered and people are talking about it. And this is why I deserve opportunities going forward.
Yeah. Whether NASCAR or wherever, she can race a car. How about this?
By the way, she's been on our show before for those that are brand new.
That's right. So PETM alum Natalie Decker has won at COTA this weekend. And I thought it was really cool because obviously with COTA coming to the Cup Series next year to see that happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, somebody asked, like, where are you going? What's your new thing next year? What track are you going to? And they're like, I'm going to Nashville for sure. And I don't know what the proximity of that particular person is to Nashville, but I was like, I think like circled on the map is COTA.
Absolutely.
Like Austin. We're going to Austin, baby.
I was talking with my wife last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. I was talking with her, and I was talking about how, this year in sports has been so weird, and there's things I didn't get to watch, or I didn't end up watching, I should say. Not that I didn't get to. I was quarantined at home. But I just didn't get into baseball till more toward the end and watching a little bit. And I hadn't really been into football as much. And NASCAR, obviously following that. But she said, what do you miss the most out of all that? And what's things that you're not going to go back to as hard? She was just curious. She's not like, you watch too much sports, anything like that. It was just kind of like, just curious. And I said, man, the thing I miss the most is not being at the racetrack. That is something that I didn't realize perhaps that I took for granted that we do just because we do it. That's just what we do. We go to the racetrack, and not being able to be at the racetrack is so much worse than not being able to be at a Georgia Tech football game. I'd even say, it's so different. So it's kind of apples and oranges to say. I want to go back to both, but I really found that I've missed being at the racetrack more than anything else.
I think I'm well aligned with you. I certainly miss all of the sports, but not being at the racetrack has really hurt me this year. Like, just going through the motions, talking with folks on Twitter, and they're like, did your credit card melt last night buying Chase gear? And I'm like, nah, I heated it up a little bit for a die cast, but I said I didn't really go hog wild or nothing like that, but I miss being there.
That's the
I was
thing.
like, you know, there's something. I was like, I like to buy a hat every year
Yep.
for my guy or one of the guys that I support. And I said, but you know, you can get anything you want online pretty much. I said, but there's something to me that means more to me about buying that hat at the racetrack.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. I mean, I'm still trying to find that elusive Blaney hat, which I've struck out like twice now. So I still need to get me one. How about this? Have you heard of the 2.4 hours of Le Mullets?
I did. Well, only because I read it in your thing. Larry McReynolds is going to do some work with that.
So let me put a little asterisk next to this. This was on like a Facebook. Now it was on NASCAR and Reddit I saw, but it was like on a Facebook like photoshopped image thing, and it says Larry McReynolds will be announcing. So I can't fully say that is primary source in terms of yes, but it sounds like it sounds like people are saying that Larry Mack will do some announcing there. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Not sure if that's true. Whether it's true or not, I did not really know about it. So I went and looked it up. And tell me if there's nothing more America than this right here. This is how they describe it. The 2.4 hours, not 24 hours, the 2.4 hours of Le Mullets is a pay-per-view event featuring the largest automotive influencer competition in the world, an hour and a half of nitrous-powered Crown Vics with a mid-race driver change, all happening at the world-famous Freedom Factory. I was like, I mean, I pulled out my flag and started waving it. How cool is that?
I mean, is it a cartoon or?
Right. I mean, I can't imagine how crazy. How about nitrous-powered Crown Vics at the Freedom Factory? Man.
Yeah, it sounds like a demolition derby.
Just about, doesn't it? Oh, man.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Whatever. Larry Mack and his hair pattern, he would have been prime for a Dwight Yoakam skullet.
He doesn't even have to shave it in. Just have it.
Just it's funny. I've been listening to a lot of Cody Jinks' podcast, and he's talking about how he's like cut his hair into a skull. He's like, yeah, I got like no hair up here anymore, so I'm just having it back here. Just goofing off. It's fun. He had Ryan. Speaking of Ryan Blaney, he had Ryan Blaney on his podcast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they recorded it in August, but they posted it last week, so that was fun. I didn't realize Cody was such a big NASCAR fan, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's something to say about the like accidental mullet versus like the intentional skullet or mullet or something. Like if you have a skullet and you didn't really intend to have that, it's just kind of what happened. Props.
we got one of our maintenance guys at work has got he's got it not braided, but like he's got all the rubber bands. Like it's kind of like a small.
I know what you're talking about.
Like a rat tail kind of thing, but yeah, like it's definitely a skullet. Just pulled into a ponytail.
Excellent. Well, Sherwin, we've been talking for over an hour now. It's probably about time to shut this thing down. This has been fun, and we're going to continue having fun in the off season, y'all. Can't wait to see y'all there and have some fun with us. We're going to be drinking some beer. We're going to be talking to some fun folks, and hopefully get something through here so we can be at the track that I miss the most coming next year, Sherwin.
Yeah, absolutely. So things that are lined up that are already pretty well penciled in is next week. We're going to have Bob Levine.
Mr. Bob. He's going to have a lot to talk about.
He's going to help us close out his season, close out his career as a NASCAR owner. That's pretty cool. Been working on scheduling that that gas saving podcast with Kate Ertman, who we had a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Super nerd from out west. That's cool.
Yes.
Super NASCAR fan. And I put Hannah Newhouse on blast.
Sweet.
And she's in. So we just get that scheduled and off we go.
Well, go ahead and pencil in Jay Busby for Daytona.
That's right. So we really only have like 6 weeks to figure out after that.
That's right. Well, Sherwin, tell the folks where they can find us and what's coming up. Well, you told us what's coming up. Tell them folks where they can find us.
Tell them what's coming up. You can find us, obviously, at PETM Podcast in any space that you could possibly Google. You can find me at Pregame Engineer on Twitter, at Andrew L. Sherwin on Instagram. We got the YouTube, obviously. We're doing that right now. And my co-host, Rusty Wallace.
Yes, sir. Y'all know what to do. PTM Podcast, PTMPodcast.com, at PTM Podcast on the Twitter handle. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace, at Tailgate Mayor. Can't wait to see y'all next week. Bob Levine. It's going to be a blast. Y'all take care. Skidoo. That's a wrap. Didn't even do gas it up or nothing. Nothing to gas up, but an hour and 5 just BS, and this is what the off season is going to be like.
That was really fun.
That was fun. I thoroughly enjoy doing that when, the more that we have of no agenda, the more fun I feel like I have.
Me too, because if nothing else, it forces you to work your brain a little bit to think of something fun to say that's relevant. And that felt like what tonight is just saying, okay, we're gonna pivot to this spot, and then we pivot to this spot, and then we work our way back to the beginning, and then we start over. I mean, NASCAR After Dark, y'all. If you're not dialed into the YouTube, this is why you do, because we're going to do, I don't know, maybe 10, maybe 15 more minutes of fun stuff. Rusty's got some work he's got to do to get us all posted up on iTunes and Podbean and Google Play and everywhere else. Thankfully, they all point to the same place. But, this was so much fun. Like, this was a perfect closeout episode, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And talking with Jay, Jay, he's one of those, I think I've said it before, when you say, oh, they get it, you get somebody new on who's never been on a podcast before or whatever it is. It's like, okay, well, we got to kind of show them the ropes and stuff and blah, blah, blah. But if you've done this before and you know what to expect walking in, shoot, it's going to be killer.
Well, no kidding. And I listened to, the last podcast I listened to before we started was a Joe Rogan episode with Steve Rinella, who's a renowned hunter. I think his podcast is called Meat Eater or something like that. But they spent about 20 minutes talking about podcasting and what makes it different from the real world. The mainstream media, the FM, the AM, the television. And why you can just do whatever you want on a podcast and it really doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense. They're like, you pick the guest, you pick the topics, you steer the conversation, or you let it go where it goes. And then you just go, oh shit, we're out of time. That's it. Want to come back? We got more to talk about. Why don't you come on back? And they always say yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's how I measure success. And I don't know if it's the same for you, but that's how I measure success is, did they basically already say, when can I come back? And Jay already gave us a date. He basically said, I want the post Daytona 500 show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got it, Jay.
Yeah, you're
it's
on it.
yours.
Yeah, it'll be a blast.
So I miss the fact that I won't be able to see him in person since we don't live in the same place anymore. But, Jay obviously he's been great. And he's genuinely funny.
Oh yeah.
Like he's got that wit about him, which probably makes him a good writer. I mean,
well, especially when he gets
kind of like, duh.
If you're coming up with that on the spot, what you can come up with when you've got 10 minutes to think about it, there's some serious stuff there. But yeah, he's hilarious. Just every once in a while, dropping. It might just be a word that you hadn't heard in a long time or something. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like oh that was the best 117 I ever shot.
Yeah, yeah. Just
I know what you mean.
if y'all,
I made an eagle the last time I shot a 117. You know what I mean? That kind of shit.
yeah, yeah. Oh man. Well, sir, what you got going on this week?
Let's see.
You was burning the candle at both ends.
I got trials all day tomorrow, for work.
Yeah, you've been burning the candle at both ends at work.
Yeah, buddy. I went on Saturday for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Just to, I don't know, not save face. I didn't need to save face, but to just be present. What else? I guess is Friendsgiving Saturday, right?
Oh, is it?
I think so. The 14th.
Jeez.
Isn't that what Waylon texted us?
Possibly. You may be on a text conversation that is the I don't know. Maybe he did text us. I don't know. I'm awful at this stuff. So
I understand. I think he did.
Yeah. I have the pleasure of not having any responsibility in that. Meaning Serena kind of takes care of it.
Oh, you know what? He might have sent that to me personally.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's the 14th, which is Saturday.
Wow. Okay. Already ready.
I said, gotcha. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we're going to make stew, I should probably come to your place on Friday.
We should figure something out in terms of what that looks like. I still have pork. I just need to throw that in the freezer or something.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm not going to get there till 10.
Yeah.
Not that we can't sleep in or nothing like that, and because we're not going to not have a drink, but getting everything. I mean, you know how to prep it.
Sure, sure.
I mean, hell, at this point, you can make it. You know how to make it.
Well, I don't know about that much.
I always appreciate your compliments, but you know how to make it.
Well,
but there's no reason for me to wake up Saturday morning and drive just to drive the next day too.
Mm-hmm.
We can watch a football game. I think Tech plays at noon.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, like I said, I told you earlier, I was, last week, I was like,
yeah.
That means I'm inviting myself to your house, which, I understand that, you and Serena are having date night or something. Okay. I'll just, I'll go straight to Wayland's on Saturday, whatever. It don't matter.
Yeah. We'll text about it.
I want to go because I want to see everybody.
Yeah. We'll text about it. Because I can't remember now. That's another one of those things. Just can't remember stuff. Getting old / getting too reliant on somebody else to be your calendar. I'm like,
well, what probably happened is Brooke probably texted Serena.
Well, exactly.
And she's got it locked in. And I had already given Chris the feedback 2 or 3 years ago that I'm like, hey, you need to tell me these things because I'm not in the girls' circle.
Right, exactly.
Of this group.
Exactly.
So the only way I can find out is if you tell me.
Yeah.
And he's latched onto that, and he's, he checked and adjusted, to use corporate language.
There you go.
Well, so I was planning on it. I mean, I'm planning on being there.
Sweet.
It's just a matter of when,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any problem cutting out of work at 4:30 on Friday and driving 300 miles to Atlanta. I mean, it's worth it to me to be there.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, I'll check in on all the things that need to be checked in on and figure that out.
Yeah, it's only Monday. I mean, I don't have anybody that I have to tell I'm doing something. I can just fucking leave.
Hello, Podbean. Let's see if that worked.
Is anybody still on? We had a little bit of a low turnout, but I reckon that's probably related to the fact that NASCAR's over now, and it's Monday.
Yeah.
People be coming off that weekend.
Okay.
Big thanks to Matthew Todd. If you're still hanging out with us, buddy, we appreciate it. A lot of activity there with Roger and Matthew Todd. Loose Lugs podcast. Thanks very much for hanging out.
Awesome. And Roger, as always.
Roger is always here. I mean, at this point, I would say he's probably one of our biggest supporters. I mean, he's right up there at the top.
Absolutely. Always love seeing Roger every week. All right, gentlemen, ladies, we're going to stop this thing, shut her down. Good to see y'all. Peace out.